I'll just stand here and run the computer. I got just some slides and photos of our business. I'm going to talk about the history of our business, kind of our marketing areas, and a bit of focus on innovation, because as you probably know, it's minus 15 outside, and who would want to build a greenhouse in this northern climate? So we'll talk about why we do some of those things. So where are we? We are just off the QE2, just east of Gull Lake. So we're about an hour and 20 minutes from here. We spend a lot of our marketing time in Edmonton, in the capital region. We do a lot of farmers markets, Strathcona, City Market, St. Albert. I'll show you some photos of those as well. So this is back in the late 1960s. My dad immigrated from Holland when he was 19, single. He had some cousins, some Dutch relatives in this area. So he started working on this farm, in the field, in the garden, and in that cold frame there. This is him picking cucumbers back when long English cucumbers were just a new thing. It was all different field cucumbers before this, so we had one of the first long English cucumber crops in Alberta. This was the first style greenhouse we started with back when I was a baby. I'm 40, so this is about 40 years ago. This was a wooden frame structure, and you can see in the back, snow load caused a big piece of damage there, collapsed. So, and that was middle of winter, so some challenges in the early going. Polycarbonate roof and side walls. So we moved into a steel structure. We bought this structure from Ontario, and it was plastic roof. So 2 sheets of plastic. They're inflated, so it's a bit of insulation. It's kind of an overhead view of one expansion we had in the back. You can see 4 extra hoop houses being built from a different angle. The same houses. This was in the, I think, mid-80s. So this is the current site of our phase 1. So this was our header house in the front, being built, where our boiler would be. This is phase 1 currently. That's a 2-acre block. And back here you can see our old original structure down there at a lower level, which is now gone. So that's where it was. So we built it up, the foundation. We put another 2-acre block on this site. This was 1997. And this was about close to 2005. And so that's 6 acres. We have 3 2-acre blocks. And this is before we even thought about lighting and growing products in the winter. So this is our facility now. We added another 5-acre piece in the back. So this is 3 blocks of 2 acres, and that's a 5-acre piece. So it's 11 acres under one area. And if you're not familiar with the greenhouse industry, it does seem like it's a large facility. For Alberta, it is, but in terms of, nationally and in the States, there's farms that are, almost a whole quarter section, 100 acres, 150, 200 acres. So, what attracted my dad and the second generation to build here and to keep expanding here was the access to water. Every spring we get runoff, so it fills our surface ponds. We need a lot of water to grow our plants. And the location is good, central Alberta, close to the highway. So this is our facility as it is now. Maybe I didn't mention, but this is glass. This is a glass range, and these are all still plastic. So we have a combination of both. Products we grow currently, we're getting more and more demand for eggplant. So we have about half an acre of eggplant right now. Different colors of bell peppers, different types of tomatoes, zebra, yellow cherries, hot peppers, habaneros, jalapenos, mini cucumbers. We do the heart-shaped cucumbers at times, we're taking a year off this year, mainly because of our timing of our crops. It didn't quite make sense, because it's a lot of labor to put into putting the molds on each cucumber, taking the molds off. But it's a unique product. Last year we sold about 60,000 of those into Vancouver. So. Yeah. We do weddings and stuff too. And long English cucumbers. Our network distribution, we do a few different things. My parents have always had a passion for farmers markets, right to the consumer. This is one of the first farmers markets in Alberta, in Red Deer. Outdoor market, hothouse tomatoes for 69 cents a pound. That's probably before I was born. This is our city market a few years ago. Outdoor market, right downtown, tents. We do a lot of sales through these venues, and it's weather dependent obviously with the outdoor markets, but great turnouts in the summer. This is our stall at Strathcona every Saturday. We're there year round because we have our artificial lighting, so people can always buy greenhouse vegetables locally any time of the year. St. Albert market set up. Bring our truck right from the farm, unload it, and those are our three main markets. Central Alberta, we sell under the brand Pick and Pack Produce with two other partners, and we just had our 30th anniversary this past summer. That's about 35 or 40 stores in Central Alberta. And then in the capital region, we market through Sunfresh Farms. And Sunfresh also is a group of growers, Riverbend, Coolmans, and so it's a mixture of indoor and outdoor crops. But we all got together and started up Sunfresh Farms about 20 years ago. And so they bring in products from outside of Canada as well, indoor and outdoor crops. But it's a farmer-owned business. So we do a focus on innovation. Obviously, to grow in the winter, you need lights in this climate. So we have 5 megawatts installed lighting, about almost 3,400 fixtures. We have 3 different zones with lights, 1 zone without light. And we grow all our crops under lights. It's a fairly new concept to grow bell peppers under light compared to something like cucumbers or tomatoes. Bell peppers don't respond as well. They don't get as much extra kg as other crops, but because we do farmers markets, direct markets, we can get a better price for that product at this time of year as well, so it still makes economic sense to grow peppers at this time of year. Our glass greenhouse, when we built it in 2010, was the 3rd greenhouse in the world to have diffused glass. You can see this is the end of the day, but you can't see the sun. You don't have any shadow in the greenhouse. It's diffused for a reason. It brings the light in at different angles so it can penetrate the crop canopy and reach more leaves. So you actually get an increase in production because of the diffused light. And in a clear glass greenhouse, you can really feel that radiation on your face, and that's what the plants feel as well. So that's the whole concept behind diffused glass, and the majority of greenhouses probably in the world are now switching to diffused glass if they're building a new range. We have energy saving screens as well. So in this winter period, at night when the lights are off especially, we can close these blankets from truss to truss over our crop, and then it allows us to heat less area. So in the peaks of our greenhouses, we don't have to heat up as much because it's like a blanket over the whole crop. So it cuts our energy bill by 30-35%. And this is a blackout screen. We have 2 screens. This blackout is for any chance we had any neighbors complaining about light pollution, or we haven't had that because we're a rural area, but in Holland, for example, there's a lot of lit greenhouses, especially beside airports, and the airport authorities complain quite a bit, so they have to install these blackout screens at certain times of the night for those reasons. This is pretty standard in our industry now, but when we built it, it was a fairly new concept. So we burn natural gas in our boilers, and we bring in CO2 from those boilers into our crop. So the flue gas from the boiler, when we burn the natural gas, is pure CO2. So we pump that CO2 back into the plants, into the crop. So in the summer especially, when we're burning this natural gas for CO2, we don't need the heat. So, because we're venting most times in the summer, it's too warm to use that heat. So all the hot water from the boiler gets put into this tank. It's always full of water, but at the end of the day in the summer, this tank will be about 90, 95 degrees C of water. And so at night, the next night, when the vents are shut and there's a heat demand in the greenhouse, the hot water from this tank can be pumped back into the greenhouse. So it's just an energy-saving technology. So with our climate strategy, we also have an irrigation strategy. We control our climate with our temperature for our plants. We also want to control our irrigation, how much we water, when we water. So this is one of our, I think, 10 grow scales we have. So this is, we put some plants on a scale suspended off of our gutters. There's load cells at each end, and it weighs the plants. It weighs the plants, so you can tell when you water, you can tell how much dry down there is, so you know how much the plants are used, how much they've used, so you can know when to water next. It's all controlled by our computer. So it is precision growing. You don't want to overwater, and obviously you don't want to underwater as well. So these are tools that we can use to give precise amount of irrigation for our plants. This is just a shot of our irrigation room. We have 3 different pump sets, sand filters in front, mixing tanks in the back, stock tanks of fertilizer. We take samples every week to a lab, and we change our recipes according to what the plants are draining. So if they're draining more calcium one week or more potassium another week, we'll adjust our recipes weekly according to what the plant is showing us from our lab samples. We grow lettuce. This is a newer crop for us. We used to propagate our own plants. This is all a concrete flood floor. We used to grow our own plants from seed, but as we expanded, this area got too small. So at one point this was just storage. At one point we had strawberries in here. Now we invested in hydroponic lettuce. So these are ponds about 1 foot full of water. They're lined, and these are styrofoam floats. So we have these floats on the water. We grow them from seed. We have 3 types of lettuce: the butter, the oak leaf, and the romaine. So this is a double density pond. So we have sheets of 24 lettuce on a sheet, and then once they get big, they go to the back, and these are 12 sheets of 12, and we harvest in the front. So it just kind of rotates. And this is after we invested in LEDs. So we have 64 LED lights in this area now, instead of the standard high pressure sodium light. And we have spectrum control as well, so we can bring in blue light or red light, or depending on the time of the year, and that'll kind of affect or change the characteristics. Especially, we're noticing on our purple type lettuce, it really brings out the color in the leaf with the more of the blue light. So we're still learning how to use this technology, but we definitely think that obviously there's a decrease in power consumption, and there's more control you can have with your crops with the spectrum control. It's a shot of our family last year. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I think there's 16 grandkids now.